Hello everybody. My name is Susan Donaldson. I will be officially Susan Washington again once I get my final divorce decree in the mail to restore me to my maiden name. But I wanted you to see me because I am the face of heart failure. In 2009, I got diagnosed with congestive heart failure after being misdiagnosed for years. I mean, I was on albuterol for asthma, all sorts of things, taking different kind of steroids when I would get colds and everything. And I had been in heart failure for years. And we as African American women, sometimes we don't like to go to the doctor to see what's wrong. And I think my heart failure actually started when I was about 18, because I had gotten pneumonia when I was about 18 years old. That was the first time. That wasn't the only time I got pneumonia, but, nobody's looking for heart failure in an 18-year-old kid, And, I was a heavy smoker. I used to go out and party with my friends and everything, and it really started to take a toll on my body. I developed type 2 diabetes, and when the crescendo of my life came crashing down around me, and I want to say late October is when I really started to notice something was going on with me. I started swelling, and I'm not talking about just a little bit swelling. My ex friend at the time thought that I was hiding a pregnancy from him, and that wasn't it. There was something going on with my heart. And I ignored the signs and symptoms. I had gotten to the point where I couldn't even lay down. I used to have to sleep forward on my knees on like 5 or 6 pillows just to be comfortable to sleep 30 minutes at a time. I could not keep anything down. I wasn't eating heavily, but I mean, even water was making me throw up. And brushing my teeth was making me throw up. And I mean, something was majorly wrong, but I was too afraid to go to the doctor. And like I said, in April of 2009, I was getting ready to go on vacation, and 2 weeks prior to that, I could not put on any shoes. I had trouble bathing myself because I had gotten so big around. And I mean, I was having all these crying, emotional fits. It was just absolutely terrible. But I still wouldn't go to the doctor. It wasn't until I got up one morning and my usual routine, like clockwork, my sister could hear me in the bathroom just vomiting, because I would wake up every morning like that. And I tried to put on my shoes, and I couldn't because my legs and feet had gotten to the point where they were size of coffee cans. And that's bad when you can't even put on, bedroom slippers. That's just how big my feet were. They were humped over, and I mean, it was like bubbles. They were so big. I had difficulty breathing, but I still wouldn't go. I mean, at that point, I should have been going to the emergency room, but I didn't. So I ended up calling in to work, which is something that I never did. So I knew my boss knew something was wrong because I worked more overtime than anything. I would never call in. And I went to the doctor. My sister convinced me to go to the doctor. And my doctor took one look at me and said, "You need to go to the hospital." And of course I'm starting to freak out because I'm Virgo, so I'm a natural worrier. I worry about everything, So I went to the emergency room, but it took a fight to get me there. I went back home first. I didn't even go straight to the hospital. And it was my sister Sandra who said, "Susan, we need to go." And I was on the phone calling people, saying goodbye, because it was a big fear of mine that if I went into the hospital, I wasn't coming out of the hospital. You know, that's just how serious it was. So when we got there, and it took them 12 hours to finally diagnose me. And when the doctor came back in and said that you're in heart failure, congestive heart failure, I don't know who cried harder. It wasn't me or my sister Sandra. We had our pastor there from our church. And the only thing I knew is that I didn't want her to tell my mother and my other sisters. I mean, because my mother had just, had open heart surgery. And my mother has congestive heart failure. And I mean, it is something, it is a silent killer, because a lot of young women don't know what to look for when they're having all these troubles. And because I didn't have any symptoms, I didn't have the chest pains, because when the doctors were talking to me, they were asking me, are you having chest pains? I had none of those symptoms. The only way that I knew something was wrong was because I had the swelling, which is called edema. Other than that, I probably would not be here now. The doctor said that my heart was only functioning at 10%. And when they see people with heart functions like that, they're dying. I was dying. My kidneys were shutting down. I mean, everything. I was the youngest person up on the cardiac floor at the time. And I could hear the nurses whispering, oh my God, she's so young. And because I'm a worrier, that made me feel even worse. And I will say this, that it is imperative that you go to the doctor if you suspect something is wrong. My sister Sandra and I, because we're closer in age, and a lot of the things that have gone wrong with me have gone wrong with her, like she's diabetic, she's a heavy set woman too. So we already have things stacked against us. There's a family history of diabetes, cancer, on both sides of the family. So it is imperative that you go and get yourself checked out, because I celebrate 2 birthdays. I celebrate April 16th and I celebrate my actual birthday, which is September 14th. Because if it wasn't for my sister insisting that I go to the doctor, I wouldn't be here to tell this story. And I have to stress, especially for African American women, no matter how young you are, if you feel that something is wrong, it probably is. I mean, people can call you a hypochondriac or anything they want to, but you know your body and you know when something's wrong. And I just wanted to say that I am the face of heart failure. And I just wanted to get that message out, that other people need to be aware of this fact. And because people can't readily see my illness, they think, oh, well, she's just fat, she's just lazy. No, it isn't. There are certain things that I can't do anymore. I was going to school to be a nurse, and my career got cut short because of that, among other things. Having a back injury. I mean, I get winded just, doing simple tasks, walking back and forth in my house. It is a real thing. I have to be careful because I take a whole host of medications that I can't be outside with some of them because they cause sunburn. So I mean, my whole life has changed here. I was in school and I had to leave school because one of the medications that I take causes a very, disruptive cough, the lisinopril. And it was causing so much disruption for me that I had to leave classes, and then I had to start going to class online. And also with the heart failure comes the fear that nobody will want you because you feel like you're damaged goods. And my fear of being alone led me into a marriage that I should never have been in. Because at the end of the day, he was just using me. He saw my vulnerability because I had told him everything about my life. I mean, I have nothing to hide. But what I want to say is that women who are disabled, be very, very careful of the company you keep. because this man turned my life completely upside down. He was helpful in the beginning, but when all was said and done, he turned out to be a liar and a con man. And I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there for me, but I'm just really, really cautious now because I don't want to be taken advantage of again. But there are support groups out there for people like us. And if there isn't one, start one. Because I didn't know what to do with myself. I had worked ever since I was 15 years old. So to have to stop and, go on complete disability, and to know that when the doctor said that there's nothing else that they can do, short of, of giving me medications, they can't stop the heart failure. So it will eventually take my life. But I'm still here, and I'm a fighter. And again, as I said before, I am the face of heart failure. So for my women out there, especially my sisters, please get yourself checked out. Because being misdiagnosed for years with asthma, and it wasn't that, it was my heart, I cannot stress this enough. So you all take care. And if you have any comments, you can check me out on my blog, The Face of Heart Failure. If you want to email me, you can email me at Susan_Washington@rocketmail.com. If you want to talk, if you want to discuss your feelings about it, or how heart failure has impacted or disrupted your life. But we need to get talking about it, especially as women of color, because heart disease is the #1 killer of women. And because we don't know what to look for, or we just kind of brush it over, it is what it is, and it has to be dealt with and addressed. So again, if you want to check me out on my blog, that's fine. The Face of Heart Failure at blogspot.com, or email me at Susan_Washington@rocketmail.com, and let's get some dialogue going. And I want to thank everybody for listening to my blog and listening to this video. And I love you all, and I pray that I help some woman see herself in this face. And thank you again for listening.